How's everybody doing? And thanks for tuning in to Wicked Warnings, your number one source for construction and emergency safety strobe lighting equipment for cars, vans, buses, bicycles, tricycles, SUVs, pickup trucks, motor scooters, and your very brand new 2023 Ford Expedition Platinum. As you notice, the front end of this Expedition is a little bit different than the 22s. They got a facelift. They got an all-new setup now on the headlights. And this particular client does a little bit of cement construction, general construction. So he wanted a nice amber white non-intrusive package. Of course, this being an Expedition Platinum, happens to be one of the higher members of the company, so they're not always out in the mud and the dirt, so they didn't need that F-250 Super Duty package. Now, being at the front doesn't usually have the majority of the danger. We wanted to keep it a little bit simple. We did play around a little bit with those headlights, and at this point in filming, we were unable to have a successful DRL alternation without the headlights being on. And I know this client is going to leave the headlight selector in auto almost 100% of the time, which will screw up the way that those DRLs work because, again, when the lights are off, they're not going to flash. So we went with 3-inch mpower, which will work key on, key off, doesn't matter, battery on, engine off or on, no problems. The lights are always going to work. That's what this client really needed. We went with an amber white 3-inch. That's a stick mount mpower, so don't forget your primer 94. And it's super easy on that platinum grill. We just had to drill one small hole, which we'll be able to put a little plastic cap over because this is a leased vehicle. Another thing to keep in mind, customer asked to keep the damage to very minimal because it is a lease vehicle and it will be going back. They're not keeping it. So the 3-inch mpowers will pop off very easy in the front there, and that's a super easy alternation pattern called intercycle right there. I like those lights because in this position, you do get a pretty good warning. I'm about 45 degrees off the front of this truck and about 8 feet away right now with the camera. And as you can see, that light does just fine. Now, moving closer to 90 degrees and about 12 feet away with the camera, you can still see how that corner light is still visible. Not the most effective at this angle, but still visible and doing its job. We discussed side lighting in the rear or opera windows. Didn't need it. Customer wasn't worried about it, so we didn't do it. Alrighty, now, of course, there is always more danger in the rear of the vehicle, so what we did is we mounted a 6-head warning stick in amber. Now, this happens to be the warning and arrow stick. We're not using the arrow feature, but just the warning feature. Our Wicked 6-head stick in amber white would also be a great fit here as well. The Wicked stick currently doesn't have the arrow feature at the time of filming, but we are adding that in. So if you are dependent upon the arrow feature, you will need another controller for the extra arrow feature switches, as well as this 6-head arrow and warning stick. But as I said, if you wanted white, bump up to the Wicked 6-head stick with the amber white combination, and you could have white in the back too. Now we are doing the factory white reverse LEDs with our auto flasher module. That is plug and play behind each taillight. We have the harness the extensions, so you simply unplug your taillight and plug our extension in behind each taillight. There's a couple more connections to do once you run those wires through a rubber boot in the hatch. We have a video explaining all about it. It's very simple, very easy process, and it doesn't damage the vehicle at all. Completely removable, perfect for a leased vehicle. Now, if you're in law enforcement or any kind of EMS personnel where you would like the red parking ring, which is illuminated right now on purpose. I have the parking lights on to show you that ring. If you'd like that to alternate flash with the white reverse, we can make that kit for you too. The plug and play items are the red ring, the white reverse, or a combination of red ring and white reverse in an alternating X pattern. And of course, you have 29 patterns or more you can choose from. You can set it up simultaneous or alternate flash depending on your department's organization or what you want to see. So if you don't like the alternating white and you prefer a simultaneous white, we can have that set up too in one of the patterns. Very easy to change. As the hatch opens here, you can see that the light stick raises with the hatch. We did that for a couple of reasons. One, this customer, once in a great while, does haul some large things. So having a light stick hanging down on the headliner will prevent you from sliding in the refrigerator or whatever bulky box that you're trying to haul. Or big screen TV, I don't know, whatever fun thing you're trying to shove into the Expedition. So we wanted to keep that stick in the hatch so it stays out of the way for any large items that he needs to load. And as you can see, we mounted it right there with a simple 90-degree bracket we just fabbed up in-house. These sticks come default with no bracketry because you never really know what you're going to need to mount it. Many times we have to fabricate a longer bracket or a shorter bracket or a specially shaped bracket. This one was fairly easy. We just removed two of the retainer clips, very similar to the way we do the Ford Escape. I'll link you to a Ford Escape video that shows you how we used a threaded rod in place of the retainer clip and some 1/4 inch all thread and a simple 90-degree bracket. That's exactly how this one's done. Ran the wiring right through the factory boot there. Actually, the light bar wiring, as you can see, goes into the hatch here and comes out through this factory boot. Now, the reason I also did this as well is because a headliner is very difficult to replace. So if we go putting holes in the headliner and mount the stick there, it's going to be quite hard to replace that for the lease vehicle. However, that small trim piece that's on the top of here, it's just one plastic trim piece. We can order that brand new, remove the light stick, remove the fasteners, and install a new trim piece, and nobody would ever know there was a light stick in this vehicle. So that's why we chose that. Now, of course, once you close the hatch, you can see behind that slightly factory tinted window, the light stick completely disappears. So from the rear, this vehicle looks 100% stock. Nobody would ever realize that it has the amount of lighting warning power that it does. That is, until you hit that switch on the dash and you end up with this in the back. Speaking of switch, let me show you how I did this. As far as power, very easy. We just ran right through the firewall, through the factory boot with our wire insertion tool, being very careful not to nick or cut any factory wires. We grabbed power and ground with a fused kit right on the battery right there. It's extremely easy to get to, and ran it inside to a simple switch. Now, when discussing switching options with this customer, he was quite concerned that we did not want to leave any holes in the dashboard. By the way, mint interior, right? That's just nice. I don't know what color they call that, but it's pretty sharp in here, I'll tell you what. Oh, babies. So, where do you put the switch and not leave a hole? Customer said we'd really like it if it was underneath the dashboard and just kind of out of sight until we needed it on a little bracket. Well, underneath the dashboard here, we already have a little bracket holding our OBD2. So I just used a switch right there. I bent the bracket just a tiny bit to allow me access to put the blue rocker switch in, but that's what we did. And that just simply, that's how he turns his strobe lights on and off. Right there, out of sight. Once we remove it, we bend this back up. Nobody will even know anything was ever there. So that's what we did for the switch on this one. Super easy. Now, if you wanted to switch in a little bit easier spot to locate, you could do something here, or I definitely know there's some room back here and also all in back here. So if you were okay with a hole in any one of those panels, you could go for it. But like I said, we wanted to avoid that. So that's how we did this. And here's where those mpower lights are in the front grille. You can see how nice they fit there. I like it a lot. There's a little bit of foam behind that grille, but it's really not a problem. Your wire ends up going straight up like this and coming up behind the headlight here underneath the hood. So don't forget your primer promoter. If you wanted a less expensive light for there, a TIR3 may fit, but it's held by screws, but it'd be pretty much the same size. So you might be able to fit a TIR3 in that location, but we're a big fan of that mpower light right there in all amber or amber white, as you can see here. And that is right there on the grill. Alrighty, it's time for either your most hated or most loved part of the video, the boring part, the wire talk. So what are you going to get in this kit and what do you do with it? Alrighty, 2 mpowers. Primer 94. That's for the front right there. Okay, we're also going to give you an accessory package, going to have connections and heat shrink and all kinds of other stuff for you to make your job easier. But in the front there, we're going to use our 22-5 to extend each one of those mpowers, and we're going to extend them both through the firewall, and behind that switch, we're going to go ahead and synchronize them. We can set the patterns. We can select the function we're using if we're going to use the flood or not. This is a single switch setup here, so we may or may not use the flood. If you do need the flood, you're going to have a multiple switch setup. So as far as the 22-5 for the front there, I'm just going to go ahead and throw 30 feet at you. That way you got more than enough to extend each one of those lights forward. Now you're going to get a fuse kit to go in the battery. You're also going to get 25 feet of 16-2. 16-2s to extend the fuse kit into the vehicle. That way you get nice power and ground to the back of your switch. Around the back of the vehicle, you're going to get your plug-and-play reverse auto flasher kit for the Expedition. As I said, there are a couple of connections, but it is plug and play at the vehicle lighting. At the vehicle harness, it is all plug and play, but you have to make a couple connections inside the vehicle for your power and ground. It's just how the kit works without needing to drill holes in the vehicle for the connectors. We have to have the wires loose so they can pass through the rubber grommet. You'll see what I mean when you install it. That kit's comprehensive, has everything you need. Above it, we have that 6-head arrow warning stick, which is what this kit's going to come with. If you want a white version, we're going to have to swap that out for you, remove that, and add in a 6-head wicked stick in amber and white. Either way, you're going to get another 30-foot piece of 18.5. That 18.5 is going to extend that stick through the hatch. Well, actually, the wire on the stick will go through the hatch, and right underneath the headliner somewhere, you'll make your joint to your 18.5, and you'll extend that 18.5 all the way forward. Now, of course, we brought that wire to the driver's side, down and forward behind all the paneling on the driver's side of the vehicle. You do need to remove a little bit of it in the back of the vehicle, remove a little bit of it behind the driver's rear passenger door, the door behind the driver's seat, remove the paneling there a little bit, pull it aside, and you can use a fish tape to go from the back tail light straight forward, coming out behind, kind of right by that rear driver's door handle, behind the trim. Then we ran it down and forward along the carpet all the way to our switch. Fairly easy install. It's not too horrible on the SUVs. Just be careful with the trim panels that you don't break anything. Alrighty, regarding that switch, it was just a Duckbill switch, so we're going to go ahead and add that in. If by default we run out of that switch, you may be provided with a 3/4 flush mount. But the switch that I used is very readily available at any auto parts store and costs less than $3 typically. If you're concerned about that, reach out ahead of time. If you're not concerned, use one of the other locations on the dash I pointed out for your 3/4 flush mount switch. The 3/4 flush mount works much better on the dash where I pointed it out, and the back mount 1/2-inch style toggle works better where I pointed on this video, where we did it on this vehicle where we used that bracket. So, but honestly, either switch works fine. It's really not that important. So, any questions, again, please reach out. We're over 12 minutes on this video. I hope you enjoyed staring at this Platinum Expedition as much as I did filming it. It is a nice, clean, stylish truck, or SUV, depending on how picky you are. I like the Expedition. We actually owned a 19 Expedition for about 2.5 years. So we were pretty happy with it when we had it, and put a lot of fun miles on it. So thanks again for watching Wicked Warnings, your #1 source for construction and emergency safety strobe lighting equipment for cars, vans, buses, bicycles, tricycles, trucks, and SUVs. 2023 Ford Expedition Platinum SUVs. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.